Okay, it's Lydia Hubble. This is April. I don't know what day this is. It's Sunday, April 7th, I think, 2019. And I was thinking about the plastic ban bag, for these plastic bags at the grocery stores that some people don't like. Now, I think there should be a ban on bans for things like that. What I think should happen, because really those disposable bags are useful. And if you remember the reduce, reuse, recycle, I hear that they're not really recycled as far as making new bags out of the old bags. However, you can reuse them. You can reduce the use of them. I think a ban, I'm really for less regulation and the more freedom. I'm for less government, more freedom, options. But I am also frugal, and I am also in favor of supporting environment, being good stewards of everything God gives us. So, idea I had, and I'm sure this is not an original idea, but it's kind of original to me, and maybe somebody hasn't heard it before. We do see at places like the library and McKay's used bookstore, people will take in bags that clean, dry bags that you can flatten them out, fold them up, and then how about instead of having like a neighborhood drive, how about people, and I can do this in District 30, how about just suggesting that people who are concerned about the plastic bags, or people who aren't concerned but just want to be part of the club, when you have the bags that are not damaged and are not nasty, and they're suitable for reuse, and people used to reuse paper bags. I know we've got a book, I can't remember what the name of it is, Jesse Stewart, a Kentucky writer, wrote a book, and there's a story in there about a boy who was his mama said, take these bags, paper bags, and go sell them back to the grocer, and don't take any that's got holes in them. And I think the way the story went was he took some that did have holes in them and really let everybody down, and was ashamed of himself, as he should have been. But it's not a new thing to reuse things. And I remember growing up, and I guess people still do this. We would take, if you buy an 8-pack, or I think it was 8-pack of Pepsis or Cokes in 16-ounce bottles, you'd pay a deposit, and then when you went to the store to buy more Pepsi or Coke, I was fascinated. They had this like long conveyor thing. So there'd be like a little doorway thing, and then you set your cardboard 8-pack or whatever of your empty bottles, and they would just like roll down this conveyor line. It's kind of like the conveyor belt at the security places at court and stuff, when you go through that checkpoint and they slide your but it would be on an incline, so they would just roll down by themselves, not too fast, and I guess accumulate at the bottom. But that is like 10 or 15 cents a bottle, deposit bottle. I guess if you bought a Coke from a vending machine, and I do remember buying a 16-ounce bottle of Coke or Pepsi or Orange Crush or whatever for 15 cents. I remember buying it for 15 cents. I remember buying candy bars for 15 cents. I was born in 1963. So anyway, I don't know how practical it would be for, to pay a deposit and return plastic bags. Those cheap, flimsy plastic bags. I just don't think that would be very, very good. But I do think that on an individual basis, concerned, responsible citizens, or people under peer pressure from other concerned, responsible citizens, just make that part of your routine. And when you're unloading your groceries or wherever you, okay, even the thrift stores use those disposable bags. Just flatten them out, make sure they're not damaged, and flatten them out, fold them up, and maybe just start out fresh. Assign everybody to Ziploc. I like the slider Ziploc bags, heavy duty freezer bags. So invest in those plastic bags. Just for convenience sake, you don't have to. You put them in cloth bags, for that matter. That's an idea. That's an idea. You can put them in. Let me see if I got some. You can go to the Dollar Tree and yeah, you can get those lingerie bags, so you can reuse those. And you can reuse. I've seen people get. Yeah, you just check out these zero waste people. They've got all kinds of ideas. But anyway, my idea was get you like a quart size. There's people store them in different ways. People stuff them into empty Kleenex boxes, or they make these tubes, or and put them in the top and take them out the bottom. People do that. People reuse these bags. But so anyway, what you could do is flatten them out, fold them up till they'll fit in like a quart size freezer bag, and when you get enough of them, somebody in the neighborhood can be assigned to be the collection spot. So everybody can go, and maybe they'll have like an old mailbox or something like an old mailbox, or maybe maybe on the corner of their porch they can have one of those snap top. You can get them at the Dollar Tree, like a shoe box, and something that won't blow away. Put it somewhere it won't blow away, but it'd be dry and clean, and maybe a stray dog won't get it and carry it off and chew it up. But anyway, just have maybe on every street, maybe near the corner intersections or whatever, and people can put on their mailbox post, you don't have to do that. People in the neighborhood would know. You'd have to let them know somehow. Maybe a community newsletter or something. So if they want to do that, everybody will just say, well, the Joneses at 1413, Brown Street, they have a collection place on their front porch or by their side door or whatever, and people can just go whenever they need to and drop off their bags, and then the collection person, maybe you don't have to have one on every street, maybe have one in the bigger neighborhood, or this would be a good job for Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts or homeschoolers or people who make regular trips to the libraries. The libraries love these bags. So, and they have dispenser thingies but even if they're folded up, you could stuff them in there. The ones at Emmons and Pike, I know they've got. So, that's my answer to collecting, organizing, storing, distributing for reuse these bags instead of banning them. Man, I just don't think. I think a lot of restrictions are unnecessary, and they're burdensome, and they're annoying, and I just don't like it. So some people got upset because some people didn't want to ban bags. I don't think Governor Bill Lee wants to ban bags. Have a ban on the ban. And it's kind of the same thing for plastic straws. People do there's too many of them, but people just need to, be more responsible and carry your own. Get a stainless steel straw, or I think paper's recycle. Reusable stuff's always best, but yeah, I think as far as I think paper straws are okay. Carry your own straw to reuse that's the most responsible thing to do. But But like if you're camping, you want a straw, use a paper one, I guess. But and they can burn it, your campfire. But I just think that having a neighborhood project thingy like that, and then having a scout trooper, have somebody assigned to collect them, and then like if you start out with 3 quart bags, then in this container where you drop off the full ones, maybe at the bottom of the stack, there's empty ones that you could take and reuse. So you got a loop going. But I think that's and I kind of think it's neat to have community involvement and community projects and stuff, and not everybody's going to get involved or care or whatever, but still the ones who do, I just think anything that gets you out and meeting your neighbors and knowing your neighbors is a good thing, I think. And whether I am elected a council person, that's a 4-year commitment. But I'm confident. I'm up to it. I'm confident that at this point, with just me and this other girl, I think I'm the best man for the job, person for the job. So yeah, and I just don't, and neighborhood associations and covenants and restrictions and stuff. I think the best thing to do is if you got a problem with your neighbor, talk to them directly. That's what I do, and that's what people have done with me before. Just talk to them directly. Most people are if you're kind and fair and reasonable with them, they'll be kind and fair and reasonable to you too. And it gets bad when people get annoyed, and then they get to their breaking point. You shouldn't do that. And I think that if we could just get everybody to treat each other the way we want to be treated, that would solve 95% of the problems. And then if there's 5% of problems left over, then sometimes you just gotta suck it up. And that's just life. You don't get everything your way, and it's good to be forbearing and patient and let the other person win sometimes and not feel bad about it. So anyway, so that started out being I'm gonna have to quit doing the Facebook lives on this is just recorded, and I'm gonna upload it. But I miss my little girl Delara. It's been 8.5 months, no contact, and she is brilliant. I love her personality. She's a lot like me. Maybe that's why I love. All my kids are different, and they're all a little bit like me. And but Delara was the most like me, and I really understand her, and I really feel like she's been mistreated very badly, and by juvenile court judge Sheila Calloway. Judge Philip Robinson is the one who first issued a no contact order. I went for a year no contact simply because her dad asked for it, and he was lied to get it, perpetrated a fraud. But Judge Philip Robinson didn't care. He should have cared, even if everything that was said about me had been true, and even if Delara's dad had custody, which he didn't. It was wrong on so many levels for Judge Philip Robinson, Third Circuit Court in Nashville, to cut a 6.5-year-old girl off from her mother and essentially everybody she knew connected with me for an entire year. And it's actually been, she's been cut off from almost everybody, almost 100%, for since June 15, 2015. And she's 10 and a half now, and she still loves me and needs me as much as she ever did. And she loves and needs and misses her friends and her brother and sister. And I would like to think that the people of Davidson County haven't put an end to this abuse because they don't know about it. So I'm trying to tell my daughter's story every chance I get, and encourage her to tell her story. And because it's really been horrible. It's just I mean, I just couldn't believe it when it happened, and when I hadn't done anything wrong. It's just her. I had a child out of wedlock with a man who did not want to share custody with. He didn't want his child to have a mother. He never did want his child to have a mother, and he sure didn't want to have a child with me. But uh, yeah, it was a surprise pregnancy, and I'm pro-life, and I would not sacrifice my daughter for my own, or my child, my unborn child. I don't care how early in the pregnancy. Once I knew I was pregnant, um, that's a life that was entrusted into my care, and she was. It didn't take me very many weeks. I was scared to death to have her, and what would happen. I did not imagine this would happen, but I did consider the possibility that her dad would abduct her to Turkey. Um, but if he did, that's on him. I've never done anything to. I've always encouraged and facilitated a close relationship between Delora and her dad, and I think it's paid off. And it's unfortunate that we have judges sitting on the bench who don't value the Constitution and the fundamental liberties that it's supposed to be protecting, and they don't feel bound by the law. And I have a lot of, some of my responses to the abuse have been controversial. Not everybody agrees with me, because I've been resisting the arbitrary abuse of power and oppression, and I believe it's my right and duty, and I believe it's authorized by God. I believe it's authorized by the Tennessee Constitution, and I understand a lot of people would have more to lose, and because sometimes you got to make tough decisions, and you've got to consider what will happen. What's going to be the consequences of my actions, and the very fact that they left me in a position where I had nothing to lose, because once they took my daughter, when I had been compliant and cooperative and trusted the system, never harmed her, endangered her in any way. She was, by all accounts, flourishing, and they should have left her alone. And I expected they would have left her alone, and they didn't. So I've been in open rebellion, some people would say, but in obedience to God, and because the Tennessee Constitution, Article 1, Section, what is it? Article 1, Section 2. We really, the doctrine of non-resistance to arbitrary power and oppression is counterproductive. Abuse escalates when it's not addressed, and people who think that keeping your head down and your mouth shut and just taking it and being satisfied with whatever you're allowed to have without having to fight, that makes people weak. It makes communities weak, and it promotes terrorism. And I will not be part of it. And like I said, I've got 2 adult children, and my little girl's 10 now. And once they took her away from me, they freed me up to. There's nothing they can do to me to encourage me to stop fighting for justice. And they could give me my daughter back and my rights back, and then I'll quit complaining about what they're doing. But I'll always complain about what they did, and hope it'll serve as a warning to other people. And I hope and pray there's enough people who still care about liberty and justice for all, and equal protection under the law, and who believe that children deserve more protection and liberty and justice than their parent or parents can afford to buy in our legal system. And anyway, so I'm going to stop there. But yeah, I am against a ban on paper bags, and there is my one of my alternative solutions. Yeah, I'm solution focused.